All right, so welcome everyone to ICF Orange County. This is a very special event. We have an MCC coach here, and this is part of our Level Up Your Coaching series that we are doing this year, where we're inviting 4 MCC coaches to come and demonstrate what it would be like to level up our coaching from different methodologies. And this is a very, very unique way to do so. So our topic today is called The Future of Coaching, Evoking Energy, Intelligence, Awareness Beyond Cognition, Emotions, and AI. Thank you, Ram, for helping me with with some of the back end stuff. My name is Nanor Ohanessian, and I am on the board of ICF Orange County. And today's programming is being recorded, so know that, and it will be placed on our YouTube channel, and we will ask for volunteers to do some of the work, and know that in advance that it is being recorded. So when you do say yes, you're also saying yes to being recorded and being put on YouTube, just so you're aware of that. Today's event is 1.5 core competency, 1.5 CCEUs, and 0.75 of it will be core comps, and 0.75 of it will be resource development. And you will receive that certificate once we send out the survey, which happens very robotically and will probably take up to 3 weeks, just so that you know that we have not entered the AI age with that yet, but we're getting there. Okay, and so with that, if we don't have any other questions, we'll go ahead and dive in. I'd love to introduce Ram. So I heard Ram speak at an ICF credentialing event about 6 months ago or so, and he was on a panel sharing his experience about core competency number 7, which is evoking awareness. And during his parts of the presentation, I was left intrigued and stunned by some of the comments and shares that he had made. I felt he was a very out-of-the-box thinker, very avant-garde, innovative, and daring in some of the things that he had shared. So with that, I was very excited. Immediately, I went on LinkedIn and friended him and asked him if he would be willing to do a session for us. And he just easily said yes. I thought I had to go through a lot of red tape to get through him, but he was extremely accessible. So thank you for that, Ram. And what I learned a little bit from his share is that whatever it is he is going to teach us today, it felt very fundamental and it felt very deep and rooted, as well as something that would be more sustainable in our impact with coaching with our clients. So Ram is a leadership and development coach and trainer with 4 decades of corporate leadership and entrepreneurial experience and background in Eastern spiritual practices, with a passion to integrate ancient spiritual wisdom with present-day science and technology. He teaches, trains, coaches, and practices systemic spiritual coaching in the hope of helping people create their better selves and the world a better place for future generations. So let's give Ram a warm welcome and let you take over. Thank you, Ram.
Thank you. Thank you, now. In any case, I think you'll all be, whether you like it or not, since you're being recorded, you're going to be on YouTube. The only question is when any of you volunteer, whether you would like to be sort of sharing anything on YouTube. But I can promise you that the way that we are going to do the work, you don't have to share even your name. Unfortunately, it'll probably appear on YouTube, but you don't have to share any details about who you are, what the context extra is. But you can decide at that point in time, closer to the time. I just want to start with this. There was a point in time, I'd been a corporate leader most of my life, then I had been all kinds of stuff, entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, VC at a point in time. But most frustrating and the most remarkable point of my career was trying to become a monk, which failed miserably. But with that, I gained a lot of insights about why not to become a monk. And so, in many ways, to me, it's a bad word. The word guru and monk and so on and so forth. It's I don't want to go into details now. Today is not the time. But I would like to start with this. And so, in frustration, as it were, and somebody suggested I become a coach, and I didn't know what the heck a coach was really, to be honest. I wasn't a great cricket player, or in India, football is not that great a game. So I said, okay, let me try. And so my wife asked, you've done so many stupid things in your life. And I had started listening to her for the first time after many years. What does it take to be a coach? And I said, yeah, it says, I went to ICF guidelines and it said, you must be a listener. And she said, you don't even listen to me. How the hell are you going to listen to people? So I took that as a challenge, and presumably I succeeded because we have a reasonably thriving business as a coaching institute. We do training, coaching, and all that kind of stuff. But fundamentally, my own interest is in trying to link the ancient wisdom, especially the Eastern wisdom, the spiritual wisdom of Hindu Buddhism, the Vedic wisdom, with modern science. And that's what the title of this speech is about. Future of coaching in terms of energy awareness, and also we have a foundation which is a nonprofit which works with underprivileged children as well as women. So we work with started working with about a dozen schools, primarily very poor, below the poverty line kind of people in India. So I'll jump into the topic as such. Several years ago, I mean, soon after I became a coach, I think it was about 10, 12 years ago, I met a gentleman called David Peterson. I don't know how many of you knew him. He was chief coach at Google at a point in time. He's not alive, unfortunately. David came for this particular session that was in Boston, where my son and I attended. And it was hosted by the Harvard Medical School, Carol Kaufman, I think. I'm not quite sure. People like that, and a lot of very self-important people. So David comes up there and says, his title of his speech was, "Is coaching dead?" And he wasn't even asking as a rhetoric question. He said, "Coaching is dead." Oh my God, he really stirred up such a powerful kind of response for many people. We were about 50, 60 people. There on my table, there were a number of people who very, very upset with him. How dare he say what he's saying, and so on and so forth. His argument was very simple. He said, and this was much before AI. Nobody had heard about anything. They have not even talked about robots and stuff like that. But what he said was that most of the competencies that are being practiced are robotic. They are competency models, framework, and cognitive, and so on and so forth. What the hell are you trying to achieve? And that offended a lot of people. And of course, he didn't withdraw any of his comments. And like Nana said, if I am controversial, I sort of look up to people like David Peterson, who couldn't care a damn. And later, I heard him in California once, and he came for this one. The subject was more or less the same, but he came dressed up as like a spaceman at this time. What is the future of coaching? Is coaching is dead? And he was just as amazing as was the previous time. I got to know him a bit. So, in a sense, what he said at that time, 10 odd years ago, is coming more and more true. And for those of us who are stuck to competency models and very proud of the fact that we are masters, master of masters, and all that kind of stuff, I think it has makes no sense. We have to be something very, very different if we want to survive in the new age, where if all it is about the 8 competencies as of now and what the descriptors are, and many of you, if you are really following what's going on here, and I have chats with ChatGPT, Claude AI, and whoever the robot is coaching, and they're amazing, truly amazing. And I'm not the only one. I know many MCC coaches who do that. And many of them are using assessments through coaching. It may not be perfect, but not are human beings. So in many ways, the kind of way that coaching is being done today, cognitively, and with a patina veneer of emotions, as we call it, basically everybody thinks, I'm an MCC assessor. And usually with the greatest of difficulties, I manage to pass about 3 people out of 10. Because very often what is considered to be coaching emotionally is, hey, how are you feeling? And the person talks about their thoughts and the coach is fine with it. So there's no further attempt in going deeper. So this has been intriguing me for a while. And so we started moving out of the traditional form of coaching, as it were. Of course, we, as accredited ICF providers, nearly an ACTP, and now in levels all 3, we do follow and we do believe in the competency framework model. That's not the point. The point is, do you go beyond that? And I found in my actual experience that individual coaching really was, in a corporate context, which is where I do most of my work and my company does most of its work, is limiting, because if we believe that by transforming somebody in one way or another, like Marshall Goldsmith said, what you got you there won't get you there kind of stuff, it doesn't trickle down as we all think it would. And there are a lot of models about ROI in coaching and all that. I'd had some discussions with some of the producers of those models, and they couldn't prove to me in any which way that there is any direct correlation between the effect of coaching on an individual and with that of the organization's performance. It's just impossible to prove, let's be honest, because there are multiple indirect assumptions that we make there where they are true. And this I found when I started following up with people whom I had coached over a period of 5-6 years. And I found that almost about half of them had either gone back to what they started, regressed, or they resigned from the companies because the rest of the people wouldn't accept them. And 50% of the people were out there, okay, individually they might have been transformed. They said, yes, they were, you made a lot of difference. But the organization, did it benefit? No. So I started doing some experiments because I was quite frustrated, because I said organizations are paying a huge amount of money. And I used to charge fairly large sum by that time, even if, as a PCCA and later, because of the fact that I had been CEOs of multiple companies, CEOs of CEOs and stuff like that. And I wanted to make a difference, add value to the companies. And that wasn't happening. And so it happened by accident, where a company asked me to coach about 12 people over a period of a year. And the sponsor was a friend of mine. I knew him. And I was a kind of a guru in that space of supply chain. I was pretty experienced in lean thinking and Six Sigmas and all that kind of stuff. And they were doing some projects, and most of the people who were involved in it were leaders, were in that space. I told them, look, I would not get into the technical aspects of it. I am not a mentor. I'm not a consultant, but I can at best for you monitor what they are doing. The company expected a lot out of them, several $100 million of improvements, etc., over a short period of time. They had been trying it for 3 years, nothing happened. So after about 3 such sessions with them, an hour each, very bright kids, high potential leaders. I say kids because I was already at that time about 68, 69. And he asked me what is going on. Is there any improvement? I said, no, I can't see any improvement at all. And he said, why? I think they aren't even communicating amongst themselves. This is days before Zoom, and we used to do like phone, not all over, people were spread all over India. And so he asked me, what can you do? I said, dashed if I knew. Had no clue, to be honest. But I said, look, one thing I can try based on my corporate experience is that if people come together in a room, they are able to communicate much better. So if you're able to do it, let me spend a few days with them. So he arranged for about 3 or 4 days. So I got them all in the headquarters and we worked on them individually, collectively, a couple of times. And within 2 months, 3 months, he came back to me and said, "What kind of a miracle have you wrought?" I said, "What heck? I don't know about any miracles." He said, 70% of what they are supposed to have achieved in about 3 years' time, they have already started working on it. Looks like it is going achieved. So for me, it was a revelation. I said, all that I did was to get them to talk to each other. And in the process, they built a bond. And fortunately, at that time, I met a gentleman called Peter Hawkins. Some of you may know him. He's a guru in systemic coaching. He's a guy who developed something called the 7-8 model for supervision. And Peter is an advisor on our board. He's been a mentor for me. And with his help, we started working on understanding more about what systemic was. And then we developed a model based on appreciative inquiry. It won an award in a David Cooper Rider conference. So we today for practice something what we call as coaching, which is built on 3 pillars: self-coaching, self-awareness, which is to us the most important. Is the coach able to get rid of all the baggage before they start coaching other people? It doesn't happen all the time. I'm supervisor a lot of people. I'm a qualified supervisor. And I find most of the time people haven't shed their baggages. I mean, still they are trying to coach other people with the same baggages. It's such hypocrisy. And when I say that aloud, of course, it becomes shocking. You're a bad guy. You're not being empathetic. I'm being very deeply empathetic. I'm not, as the famous Rinpoche said, idiot compassion. I believe in telling people that they need to improve. And this is what I find. I tell people. So more and more, we are coming to the conclusion that coaching has to start not with the competencies, but applying those competencies to themselves in whatever way they can, sometimes meditative, something, whatever reflection kind of a stuff. And are you able to figure out your own blind spots? Are you able to work on them, or are you able to reach out to somebody else to help you, etc.? And then while you're in the process, and I presume all of you being ICF might have heard of a guy called Thomas Leonard who started ICF, and he wrote a book called Portable Coach. I've written a mini book on it. It's somewhere in our Kocharya website. The first thing that he says is be selfish. And it sounds like idiocy, but he's absolutely right. It's like putting on a mask on yourself before you tend to your child. So can you be more selfish to start with? And by being selfish, by focusing on yourself, improving yourself, you can then become selfless. And that happens through a systemic approach. You start looking at people around you. And so we start with self, we move to systemic, and we try to link it with something a little bit more. We call it spiritual intelligence. And again, some of you may have heard of Dana Zohar, who's the sort of mother hen of spiritual intelligence. And it's not just and some of you may know that she's actually a quantum physicist. She was a prof at MIT and she was a quantum physicist. And she is now talking about spirituality. How strange is it? How ironic, perhaps. But she doesn't think it's ironic, nor do I think it's ironic. Because the Vedic principles, the Upanishads, way back 5,000 years has said exactly what Einstein said. All matter is energy. Einstein, of course, provided proof of it. And they also talked about entanglement. They talked about stages of mind, states of awareness, etc., far before these were discovered and practiced in the last about 100 odd years. So that is where my interest in trying to link the ancient scriptures, at least in this particular case, into Buddhist, because that's what I really know about, and linking them to quantum theory, neurophysics, and so on and so forth. Dana Zohar's spiritual intelligence today led to a company called Here in China, and the process which they built upon Dana Zohar's principles is called Renden Heiyi or something. I don't speak Chinese, so it's supposed to mean sort of getting close to your customers or something like that. So she wrote a book called Quantum Management, Zero Distance Quantum Management. I would strongly recommend that. take a look at that book and also try and understand what Haier is. Haier is a Chinese company, which today the largest white good appliance manufacturer in the world. They bought over GE, and amazing, totally amazing is the pathway. And more recently, the work when I put all these together and be working, and I have been working on a process called Create Your Future, which is very much built on manifestation, creative visualization. And again, some of you may have heard of someone called Shakti Gawain, who wrote a book called Creative Visualization, which became my Bible at one point in time. And I started teaching it with a lot of understanding of what the chakra principles are, and did a lot of work myself. And one of you said here that you have done some energy work, so you might understand that. And surprise of surprises, 2024, there's a gentleman called James Doty, very close to you guys in Stanford. He's a professor, he's a neurophysician, neurosurgeon. And he wrote a book called Magic Mind or Mind Magic, I'm not quite sure what. And which essentially says that manifestation is not a woo-woo word, but it's reality. It is scientifically proven by neurosciences. So many things are coming together. And that is what, when I say that energy, you have to go beyond cognitive and you can't have to go beyond emotions. If you don't, you're not going to go beyond AI, because that is where you're going to be limited. AI can do these things better. Today, AI can do generative work. I know it for a fact. I've written books using AI. I've been amazed at the capabilities of AI. Forget about where AI agents are doing great work or not great work. In another 6 months, they will. Today, they are creating images which requires far more computing ability than text requires. And very soon, I can promise you that, and already people are working on it. I'm working with neuroscientists to understand what they're doing. They're creating library of emotions by listening to voices, and just by listening to voices, they should be able to pinpoint what is the emotion that you are using. And it may seem like crazy, but it's happening already, whether you like it or not. And so AI tomorrow can listen to you, listen to what you write, your semantics, etc., and be able to tell you a lot about yourself. But that won't be enough. And that is the point of what I'm going to talk to you about. At this point in time, I'll stop. If you have any questions, especially if you don't believe in some of the things I have said, I'll be very happy to be contradicted. I'll give you 10 seconds to make up your mind. If you don't have any questions, then I'll move on.
I have one question.
Yeah, sure.
So I got the first one, like the 3 fundamentals. The first one was that self-coaching, be selfish, and so forth. I got the third one, spiritual intelligence. I don't think I understood the second one, the systemic part.
Fair point. Systemic comes from OD principles, Kurt Lewin, and whose legacy is through Edgar Schein, Peter Senge, now Otto Scharmer. And the basic principle of OD, a lot of people in HR talk about OD, and I said, whose OD is it? They don't even know about Kurt Lewin. If you don't know about Kurt Lewin, you don't know OD. And National Training Laboratory is the motherlode of OD. The OD principle starts with a simple understanding that for organizational development, there is an interaction of 3 circles, as it were. I, me, the we, people around me, the teams that I work with, the families, etc., intersecting circles, and the third, it, the larger organization. That is what is systemic. When an organization tries directly to get in touch with an individual and try to convey them, which is the reason why people engagement doesn't take place so easily between an organization and individual. It's very, very difficult unless the leader happens to be extraordinarily inspiring. So you need to have teams, and that is why the Rendon Hay and the very famous concept of team and team by General McAllister, you might want to hear him. Beautiful. He was an army general, and he talked about this systemic work. In terms of how you get people together as teams, and then the teams in turns become the larger organizational alignment. And that is really what is very simplistically called systemic. And so when we talk about systemic coaching, what we do in organizations, and we've got some very powerful proprietary models where we start working with people who are coming together as groups. We emotionally bond them together, help them share, create that famous Amy Edmondson's psychologically safe space, and we get them to be vulnerable, share, etc. And they get emotionally bonded. From there, we help them to co-create their vision, goals, etc. And again, I'm throwing all these names because I'm sure as coaches, you know, Project Aristotle, where they talk about interdependence and psychological safety and all that, and define goals, which are meta goals, clear goals, etc., and how to go about those goals. And then we work with them using a coaching approach. What are the challenges? Simple grow model. What is the gap between the growth goal and the reality? What are the challenges and what are the options for you to reframe them and move forward, understanding your limiting beliefs and go into action in terms of what you do. So that is what is systemic. So very often, even if you're not working in teams and groups, as I tend to do quite a lot, even if you're working at individuals, you can expand their awareness by just asking them simple question. You say, this is what you want to achieve at the end of the session. How is that going to affect people who you impact, who you love, who you work with? And how do their decisions affect you in turn? Just very simple question that converts the individual work into a systemic work because you're expanding the capabilities. And when you have 12 people working in a group, I would invariably ask them, each one of you, please go and contact 12 other people. So that group then comes with 144 lenses. If you didn't know, a fly has, in each of its eyes, 3,600 lenses. And the fly can see much better than you and I. And so these people can see much better. That is why systemic coaching is essential for change management. No one person can sit there and crystal ball and say, this is what is going to happen. That person has to go to multiple other people, get stakeholders, and invite them. So Peter Hawkins talks beautifully about something called future to back, outside to inside. That means when you create that kind of an environment, can you get people who are not even customers yet? It's like a blue sky, blue ocean kind of a strategy. Who are you going to be your future customers who might be 6 years old, 8 years old, and about in the past who've been your customers, who are no longer your customers, and your present customers, who are in your organization, who are no longer in your organization, those kind of things. So if you get all of them to get different viewpoints, then that's what is systemic. So, which is why we use the pillars. Our whole coaching model is based on systemic, spiritual, self-coaching, coaching work. So I'll move here from here because I'm probably a little bit going over time. Very quickly, the reason why I'm going to talk about the not somatic coaching or sensory awareness energy coaching is because when you experience something and as a result, you have positive or negative effects, and it's only when you have a negative effect, you're frustrated with something and then you go to a coach. If you're going to be deliriously happy about something fulfilled, you would be pretty much something wrong with your head if you were to go and pay a coach money to be consulted and coached. So if you have a problem and if you're experiencing something, the first responders in your body are your sensory perceptions. And this is neuroscientifically proved. You don't have to take my word for it. You can ask Huberman at Stanford, you can ask James Doty, you can ask 100 other people who are neuroscientists. That information that comes as a metadata, the raw data, totally true data, goes to your limbic brain, to the hypothalamus and amygdala and hippocampus and so on. It first gets compared with the memories that you store of your past experience, which have been already labeled by amygdala. And then it goes to amygdala and amygdala labels them. That's the first level of corruption. Emotions are not as great as you think. If anybody thinks that emotions are the truest barometers of who you are at, it is not. It is one level corrupted. Please understand from a neuroscientific point of view. And then from there, there's a complex kind of mechanism. It's called the HPA axis, unless it's an imminent disaster where the inputs are converted into direct contact with the pituitary and goes through the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, the flight-fight reaction. It goes to the frontal cortex. And in the frontal cortex, the cognitive part of it takes over. And the decision-making, etc., happen. That's a second level of corruption. We as coaches, 99% of the time, work with those logical, cognitive inquiries. All your questions, the PCC markers, 27 of them, the MCC markers, 24 of them, whatever you want to take, they are all about cognitive questions. Okay, there's a passing reference to, are you measuring your energy, shifts in energy, emotions, etc. Generally, people's this thing is, oh, you're smiling, why are you smiling? Or what are you feeling? Great, but that's not any great inquiry exploration into what's happening out there. If you truly want to get to what the person is experiencing, the only way that you would ever be able to do that is through the sensory exploration. You've got to put them in a state where you are able to ask them, hey, what the heck is happening in your body, especially in your trunk area, between your throat and your lower abdomen. When they tell me, oh, this is what is happening in my head, I forget it, then you are fantasizing. You've got nothing to worry about. Or my fingers are shaking. I said, maybe you got palsy, go somewhere else, go to a doctor. But if it's happening somewhere between your trunk and your lower abdomen, then you are really, really experiencing a trauma. And I don't want to go into too many details today. It's a complex kind of a thing. It requires an understanding of both neurobiology as well as chakra energization to understand what each one of them means. But that's a process I'm hoping to be able to take one of your volunteers through. If you have a trauma of invalidation or grief or guilt, and it's been there for a long time that you have not been able to get rid of it, in spite of all your therapeutic help in whatever way, you're most welcome. I'll spend about 20 minutes with you. I can't promise you everything will get over, but I can promise you that if it doesn't get cleared up, I'll work with you. And I'll promise you that you will get rid of it. I work with literally several hundreds of people, thousands of people. And till today, nobody has come back to me and said, look, it hasn't helped. So I'm not making idle promises, but in a 20-minute period, it may or may not be possible. Otherwise, I can take you through a group. So the process consists of three aspects. One, first, in any coaching, I would recommend that you do this as well, even if you're doing cognitive coaching. Put the client in an empowered, anchored position, because the client is coming in a negative state. And if in a negative state, you are trying to explore the client is going to find it very difficult to even imagine a way out of it. So, but if you're able to empower the client by thinking about something that empowers them, anchors them into a higher state of fulfillment, joy, whatever it might be, the client is much more capable of looking at the reframing of whatever perceptions are blocking them. That's the first stage I'll go through. It takes about 5-6 minutes. And then I'll go through a process of exploration in terms of what you're going through, with knowing I don't need an iota of data about the context or the content. I just want you to visualize that particular experience that is causing you some kind of a problem in your body. And if you try a little bit hard enough, I'll try and do it during the anchoring process itself before I start the process. And the last one is, then at the end of it, I'll re-anchor you in that happiness state. And that's really what it is. And then we can do a discussion on that. So I think we are currently somewhere around about 35 minutes. If you're okay with it. I mean, is there a volunteer? Would any of you would like to go through? I promise you, I won't make a fool out of you. I won't make an example out of you. I would be more than Carl Rogers.
We
Totally
have one.
100% positive regard and empathy and congruence.
We have ID who just raised her hand.
Okay. ID. You don't have
Are
to
we
tell me.
saying your name right?
Not even your name. I can see it. ED. I'm
Ed.
sorry, you're not ED. ID. ED. Thanks for correcting me. Okay. So ED, we will start with you. The rest of you, you can stay on video, no problem, but please mute yourself. I do not want any disturbance during this process. That's about all I request. But if you want to be on video, perfectly all right. There's no problem with that. But Edie, if you can be on the video. And as I am taking Edie through the process, please try and go through it yourself. And not necessarily what she is feeling. That's not what I mean by going through it yourself. But whatever your issues are, whatever that particular trauma that you may have had or you may have and which you might like to get rid of. It could be of anything. It may not be 100% effective for you because there might be some disturbance in terms of the work that I'm doing with Edie and what you're doing, but to whatever extent you might be able to do that. Okay. So Edie, if you're okay with it, I will first take you through. It's a guided kind of a process. You just have to follow what I'm saying to you. Is that okay with you? I have your permission to do that? Okay, great. So just place your feet firmly on the ground, as firmly as you can, and put your hands on your lap, open, with your spine completely straight, erect as it were. Don't lean back too much. Don't lean forward too much. At a point in time later, I might ask you to put your fingers together. At that time, just put these fingers together like this. The forefinger and the thumb together. At that time when I ask you, at the moment it can be open. So Eddie, yeah. Please close your eyes. And all of you others, if you could just follow the same guiding process. And with your eyes closed, tense your body as much as you can from the top of your head to the tips of your toes and stay there for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Take a deep breath. And now, once again, please tense yourself as firmly as possible, as tightly as possible from the head to the toe and stay there for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And relax completely, relax completely. Breathe deeply as you can. Inhale as deeply as you can from as low below your navel as possible. Let your stomach butt out, jut out, and hold that inhale breath for a count of 3. And exhale slowly, very slowly as you can. Twice as long as you inhale. At the end of inhalation, just hold your breath for a count of 3. And now inhale again. So just continue this for 4 more cycles. Box breathing. Deep inhalation, holding 3, 2, 1. Exhalation. 3, 2, 1. Hold. Inhale again. You may have completed 5 cycles. If you wish, just do 1 more. Inhale deeply. Hold. Exhale slowly. And hold. Now shift your attention from this breathing, focused on breathing, to the top of your head. And while you are breathing in the background, just focus on the head, on the skull, and see if you're able to sense any kind of movement, any sensation, energy sensation, as if you're The top of your skull, the skin is getting expanded or contracting? Is there a pounding? Blood flow at the below? Is there something else happening? Or kind of ant crawling? Could be anything. Just focus your attention on that crown of your head, the skull. Some of you may feel a bit of a pulsing, whatever it may be. Even if you don't feel anything now, keep practicing it later and you would find something, surely. Gently move your attention to the forehead, the point between your two eyebrows, and once again, quickly scan to see what is it that you can sense. Is there a pounding? Is there a pulsing? Is there a stretching? Whatever it may be. If you don't feel anything, that's perfectly all right. Move on. To your Adam's apple now. In your Adam's apple, see if you can sense something. Is there a pounding? Is there a pulsing? Is there a crawling? Just watch it. Observe it. Don't try to interpret it. Move down to your heart area. See if you can sense the beat of your heart or the pulse or something happening there that you weren't aware of before. Some kind of an energy sensation. Move down to your navel area. Make the same observation. If you feel something, just observe it, note it, move on. To your lower abdomen area, again, observe anything, a kind of a pulsing, beating, pounding, churning. And then to the bottommost point of your spine, where the spine meets the trunk, the perineum area. This is seat of your energy, internal energy called Kundalini. Just see if you can feel anything there at that point. Staying at that point, whether you experience something or not, doesn't matter. Just visualize. Try and visualize, even if you're not really greatly visual. There's a beautiful ball of white light that is emerging from that point as a center, which is covering your entire body. So you're sitting in the middle of a white ball of energy, light energy. And as you are breathing in the background gently, allow that ball to rise slowly, gently, and let it keep expanding. And allow yourself to expand along with that beyond your body, beyond your skin, into the room and beyond the room where you are. And it's now moving up to your, with its center to your lower abdomen, floating up, and you are expanding. The ball is expanding, the center is moving up. It's now moving up to your navel area. With the navel area as a center, it is now expanded far beyond your body. This beautiful white light with an amazingly powerful, gentle, energizing effect on you, healing effect on you. And this ball is now covering your entire neighborhood, perhaps your entire city of Los Angeles and Orange County. And as it keeps expanding, you're also moving its center up. And the center of that light is moving up to your heart center. Just feel as if you're covering the entire continent of America, as it were. Just visualize expanding, expanding, expanding. And the center of this beautiful white ball of light is now on your Adam's apple. And it keeps expanding as if it's expanding beyond the earth. You're able to visualize, see the earth from above, as if you're on a space flight. The land and the waters, the continents, the seas, and the center of the ball that you are in, the light, beautiful light ball of energy, white or any other color that you choose. The center moving up to your center of your eyes, the eyebrows, the forehead, going beyond as if you're covering the entire solar system, the galaxies, and it's expanding further into the multiverses, and it's at its center on the crown of your head. Just be there, just be. Experience that beautiful space of blissful energy. It's a healing energy. It's enriching you, refreshing you, regenerating you, rejoicing you. And wear a smile on your face. Feel yourself beaming. And this light space that you are in is expanding and expanding. And gently allow that space to come to your heart space. The center is now in your heart space. And please put your first two fingers together, the forefinger, each of the hands separately, the forefinger and the thumb together, and press them hard. And as you visualize something which has been the most joyous experience in your life, fulfilling, whatever it might be, you've been able to achieve something, somebody is praising you, you are on your own in the middle of a beautiful forest, or you may be in a party, wherever you are, whatever that experience is that you can experience, which has been one of the most powerful, joyful, fulfilling experiences that has given you a great amount of comfort, confidence, and joy. And as you are experiencing it in that space, feeling powerful, empowered, press your fingers as tight as you can, kinesthetically anchoring that feeling, and stay there in that space for a count of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just there for a few seconds more and gently, slowly open your eyes. So, Edie, are you, how are you feeling now?
Refreshed, like a cleansing.
Good. If you could just maybe just get up, you don't have to move, sort of do a bit of a stretch or whatever, just make some movement so that do whatever that you need to do to sort of activate yourself, because you've been sitting down for a while. And then when you are ready, we will start. Okay, thank you. So the same with all of you. If you had a few seconds to just get up and move and do whatever to sort of put your body in motion and then come back. So now, Iri, whatever it is, I don't need to know anything about it. You have some experience, which I presume is not positive. It is some way emotionally affecting you. And what you're looking for is a positive outcome. And so that desired outcome, whatever it is that you want it to be, either in terms of feeling, in terms of actuality, or whatever it is, just think about it. And also why it is important to you, why it adds value to you, and therefore why it is meaningful for you to work on it, and possibly what kind of challenges you've had so far. So now, just deeply experience that in as if that negative thing that is happening to you, that has happened to you, which has left its imprint on you, if you experience it, and if you need to close your eyes, do whatever you have to. Is it possible for you to experience it just the same way that you experienced and felt refreshed? Now, if you can experience that negative feeling, can you experience that and just feel it in your body between your trunk and your lower abdomen? Whatever it is that you are feeling, wherever that you are feeling, just once you are able to feel it, just raise your hand and let me know what it is. And I would request all of you others to do the same thing for your own self. What is it that is causing you any distress? Why it is important? What is it that you need to do about it? What would be the challenges? And then visualize you are going through that negative experience in you and experience it in your body. And Edie, when you're ready, let me know. Thank you. Where are you feeling whatever you are feeling now? In your throat and in your heart. Okay. Throat. What kind of a feeling is it? Would you be able to articulate it? Are you able to tell me?
Yeah, like there's someone like pushing down, like a strangle feeling right here.
Okay. So that strangling feeling, is it as if somebody is strangling you, or within you there is something that is choking you? Just think about it.
Within me.
Within you. And is it something, whatever is choking you, is it stationary? Is it moving?
Stationary.
Does it have a color? Does it have a form, a shape?
The first thing that came to my mind for color was red.
Red. So you have something red which is sort of stuck, which is choking you inside, and it is, how uncomfortable is it for you on a scale of 10, very roughly?
Right now, a 5.
5. Okay. Now, just focus on that feeling, that red, whatever experience that is having choking. And it's part of you, it's part of your energy. Very compassionately ask that part of you, you are part of me, and you are in discomfort, and that's also putting me in discomfort. What is it that I can do, if at all, that I could be of help to you and make you comfortable and make me comfortable?
Just to express yourself.
Okay. So is that satisfactory to you, that by expressing yourself, that you would be, is there anything that you would like to say now that would fulfill that request of expressing yourself?
I'm afraid to express myself because I don't know what the impacts will be, if they'll be negative. So I think I tried to tone that part down.
Okay. So now, that is something that you may want to work on for yourself, but you can visualize a situation where currently you're only visualizing it, and therefore there may not be an impact directly. So visualize yourself in that empowered state, putting your fingers together, that whatever it is that you wanted to express, which you have been reluctant to express because it could have a negative impact on you, but you are able to express it now because you are doing it without in any way impacting you negatively. Is that something that you would be able to do? Please experience what happens and let me know.
Yeah, nothing bad happened.
Nothing bad happened. Did the choking disappear? Is it
Yeah.
still choking? Disappeared.
Yeah.
Great. Now take a deep breath, inhale, and blow it out explosively through the mouth. A couple of times. So, is there any trace of that, whatever was blocking you, that choking? Do you feel anything now, or it's completely cleared up?
Slightly there.
I beg your pardon?
It's only slightly there now.
It's slightly there. Okay,
Yeah.
now scan the rest of your body. Is there anything else anywhere that the rest of it, which was there, may have perhaps moved to? Do you feel any leftover residual kind of feeling anywhere else that is happening within you? No.
Gone.
Just scan your heart region, stomach region. You're perfectly all right. Okay. So can you once more ask that feeling that I did what you asked me to? I expressed myself and you seem to be a lot more comfortable, but there is still some amount of discomfort left. Is there anything more that I can do so that you can be fully comfortable and make me fully comfortable?
First. Like, well, you did it in your mind. You didn't do it for real. So it wants me to do it for real.
Okay, so can you make a promise that you will do it for real and you know that there's going to be nothing negative that is going to happen to you? Is that okay with you?
Mhm.
Okay. So I would like you to do this. Just put your fingers together in that anchored position and visualize the situation that has been bothering you and the expression in your throat. The real life incident where with somebody with whom you have an issue and you're not being able to express yourself. Now with the anchoring in position, very deeply manifest it as reality that this is happening to me and I'm expressing myself, knowing that the universe is behind me. And whatever happens will be good for me. Whatever happens will be positive for me. With a deep determination, experience that. And press your fingers together, experience it. Just spread yourself in that beautiful light that you experienced earlier, spreading out of you. Stay there for a few seconds. And now feel what's happened to your throat.
It feels free.
I beg your pardon?
It feels free. There's no more
Completely
constriction.
gone. Okay, beautiful. So the issue that you came up with, which you diagnosed as something that was bugging you in your, choking you in your throat, that's not completely gone. You got some idea of what to do, and now it's for you to do it. My only request to you is just repeat this process a few times more and continue the visualization part of it, at least for the next 15 days, till it becomes a part of you. And you would be able to apply. There may be other things that are coming up. This time it came up, this is gone. It may be something else that might come up and something you would do. But when you get into a situation like this ever, where someone is intimidating you, invalidating you, just unobtrusively put your fingers together and let's say maybe by your side, whatever that person can see. And you'll find that positive energy within you, empowering energy within you, that give you the courage, not necessarily aggressively in your face, but whatever appropriate way it is, you will be able to express yourself, maybe politely, maybe in an elegant way, and you will feel better. And try this for a few days and see what happens. And if there is a repeat, a problem or whatever, I'm at ram@kocharya.com. Let me know. I will work with you again, but I don't think you will need to. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So that's a demonstration. It was, well, it was pretty swift, and sometimes not all of it is so swift. But I can guarantee you, I'm sure Eddie, give them a feedback after maybe a week, 2 weeks, or whatever, so that they start believing in this process and maybe able to do it for themselves as well. Yeah, it works, and it heals you in multiple ways. Just the effect of going through that guided meditation, you have the tape with you, we can practice it. There are those of you who require multiple more tapes or anything like that, I can ask Kocharya to help you with that. I mean, even if there is a charge to it, it's very, very nominal. Guided meditation tapes for various kinds of things. So it does make a difference. That's all I can say. And today you have James Doughty, not very far from you in Stanford. You can get in touch with him and ask him or his office. And he's a great guy. I linked up to him, and he sort of responded to me. Yeah, I was approached by Nanor for speaking, and I happily said yes. And there are other people in this world as well who are open to helping you. So he seems to be one of those people, certainly. Okay, now any questions, any of you? I mean, you may have gone through some experiences yourself. Any of you would like to share what happened? Did it help, not help? What happened? Or any other questions that you have? We have some time. We are sort of in the time zone now. We still have about half an hour. If you would like to ask any questions.
Just unmute yourselves and dive in.
I beg your pardon, sorry.
Oh, I just said unmute yourself and dive in.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah. Yep. Dive in.
Dive in.
I'll dive in. So Nanor promised this would be different, and she delivered. This is great. And I've heard you speak also, Ram, in other places, and I've been following your work for a long time. And wanting to join some of your trainings, except a lot of times it doesn't work for West Coast timing. But I'm curious how you introduce this to executives. It's really, we work with a lot of organizational leaders, Nanor and I do too, and they just want to get to work, just, give me the things. And I'm wondering, because this is a very specific sort of session. So I wonder how you do this introduction. I imagine it's part of your contracting that, this is a different kind of session, just so you know.
No, sure. No, it's a very, very important question. First of all, I would do it very gently, very carefully, and very obliquely. Wouldn't talk about anything to do with spiritual intelligence or somatics and whatever, because I don't know what the reaction is going to be. But there are multiple ways something like this can be introduced by getting them wanting to be in a psychologically safe space and so on. So usually what I do when I work with people in an organizational environment, I typically request them not just one person alone. If one person, it's easy, okay, just like I did now, I can get to that person and say, hey, okay, buddy, if you have And normally they will open up. Most people, if you approach them in a way and they have some issues, they will come up. But it's in a group that it has some difficulties. And some of you may be familiar with the human labs and so on, some of the OD works and all that. There, the process is very different. I have experienced it. I have conducted it, all that. It's a bit, to my mind, that approach is a little dangerous because sometimes people say things which they regret later and they damage their relationship forever with what they say. So here we introduce the concept of appreciative inquiry, where simple question in a group of 10 people, and they've done it countless number of times, I've forgotten how many, ask them, can you usually get the junior most person out in front rather than getting influenced by somebody senior saying something they cannot say anything differently or whatever. And ask them to go through some deeply personal experience, which is in some way has impacted them positively or negatively, and what have they learned from it? A transformational experience and very vulnerably. And then I would, maybe the first person wouldn't, but the second or third person, I start asking some maybe deeper questions, and literally it becomes very emotional. But several times I have done this with my son, and people ask me, what is it that we need to bring? He said, nothing else except bring a few boxes of Kleenex because you're going to require that. People are going to cry, and they do. And so they become vulnerable, other people become vulnerable. So at the end of it, maybe if you have a group of 10 people, I give them about 5 minutes each to express themselves and give another couple of minutes. Each one to share something appreciative about this person. That's the only condition, that there's nothing critical that you can say, nothing mean. It has to be appreciative, which is helpful to that person. And very soon you'll find the whole atmosphere of the place changing. And the whole exercise for 10 people might take about a couple of hours or something, or maybe 3 hours. And there is something that happens. There is an energy that happens. And we are in that space. If you have the time, if you're not doing other things, usually I do it as a part of another larger part of work where I take them into a visualization process, into envisioning and so on and so forth. But supposing the whole thing is about a bunch of people who really want to be helped, let's say a volunteer group, and somebody is coming together in whatever way, then you can tell at that point in time, you can very gently ask them whether it is a executive kind of group or non-executive kind of group. Is there anything that you would like to share that has been keeping you awake, or you've had to take help, psychological, psychiatric kind of a help, and it hasn't helped you? Is there something that is you're still feeling upset about it? Would you like to talk about it either in this group or individually with me? A couple of times I have done that. That works. In that kind of a space, when, see, ultimately, why do people not share with you? Because they don't feel safe with you. If two things can be guaranteed to them, that I don't need anything to know like I did here. I didn't need to know anything about Edie. I didn't need to know anything about her problems. And this process works. You can try it out. So in that space, there is very little for the other person that holds them back in terms of sharing, provided you create that space of trust with them. And this is one of the fastest way I have seen of doing it. But if you're with an individual who is really a bit tight-lipped, difficult, very often I find I just let them talk and ask them some questions, which allows them to open questions to expand their viewpoint. And then I try and find out, is there something there that I can sort of relate to? I can create a bond with them.
That's what stuck out to me a lot, was that you didn't even ask anything about what was in her mind, that, this thing that she brought forth, that surfaced for her.
You don't need to, because what
yeah.
you're exploring is the sensory part. But to lead up to it, in this particular case, because of the introduction, you are here, you know what is going to happen, and you are sharing. But I'm talking about a situation where you might have, the other person may have some resistance. So you try and find something that is common. It could be anything. It could be anything.
Ram, I have a second question to that because as an assessor, I love how you explained that first level of corruption and the second level of corruption and the whole neuroscience behind it. Why is the ICF not integrating that in the core competencies? Because I see the biggest difference between ACC, PCC, MCC is that MCCs are able to access that part more readily. From what I've seen in examples, they're including that somatic component, but it's not yet really translated well into the core competencies.
You would be surprised how many people, even though numbers are not great, at the PCC level and so on, when they come for, now I do only assessments at the MCC level, but earlier I used to for PCC. So they were from ACC, but they are, I don't know, it depends on the training institution, how you are trained. I've seen some amazing, amazing visualization exercises people do using metaphors, visualization. In fact, when I was training long, long ago, this was an Australian institute called ICA, I think. I got this thing 2011 or something, PCC, and there were one or two teachers who were fantastic. There's a guy called Leon Vanderpool, who's brilliant. There was another person whom I interacted with, very, very good. But most important was there was a peer kind of coaching demonstration that happened between two people. And they were learners. And the way this lady went about it, listening to another person who was going through some severe traumas and be able to elicit something just by being empathetic, just being bathed there. She wasn't even doing any fancy work. And other person opened up and I was able to clean herself. And later I asked this person, how did you do it? She said, I've been there before. But she didn't say a word about it. And I didn't want to sing, and I did that. So sometimes when you are in that state where you have experienced something like that, and there's a very powerful kind of impact that happens, but it has nothing to do, to be very honest. So yeah, sure. I would expect that people, as they move to the MCC, they get, depending on the training that they've had, like if you worked with someone like Cindy, who was my mentor, who's our director of education, and she's the one who helped me. I failed MCC 4 times. So the 4.5 time, first time I got 1 approved, and then things were different then, whatever. So I think the more number of times you fail, the better the course you become, perhaps. If you pass it the first time. Now everybody passes the first time, so I can't say much about it. But the point I'm making is that it also depends on the training institute, what they are focusing on. But if somebody keeps telling you again and again and again, don't ask cognitive questions. Don't just, what they say, marker questions. You are just asking the question to mark the markers. What is it that you want? What is meaningful about it? And so on. So very simply, when you start a coaching process, you ask the person, what are you experiencing now? Now that you've come to me with something that you have an issue in mind, what is that issue and what are you experiencing? And then as they talk about it, they would use words like frustration and this, that, whatever. So when you say, I'm frustrated, I'm confused, I'm this, what exactly are you experiencing within you? So it's a very, very simple way to very quickly introduce the whole concept of the somatic exploration. It's not difficult at all. People don't do it because, I don't know, I call them lazy coaches, because it's much easier to. And by the way, the process that I use, if those of you, if you're familiar, is very much in line with Rosenberg's nonviolent communication and David Grove's clean language. I wasn't aware of it myself. I was doing it for a long time, and then when I went deeper into NVC, Rosenberg, and David Grove, I found how powerful they are. And I've seen many people conducting courses, charging a hell of a lot of money. They don't lead it into somatic exploration. That's a sad part of it. Because these two are so beautifully, just a simple aspect of observing, feeling, and then bringing something out and using metaphors and so on. They're fantastic frameworks. They can be very easily applied to something like somatic. And similarly, if you're working in groups, you can work with constellation. I mean, the original Berlingers or whoever it is, the family constellation, Satir or whatever her name is, and more recently, Whittington, who's done systemic constellations. And I worked with groups on this, training groups. And just like you guys, an hour and a half, just put thingies on the table and then ask them to move it around and what shifts, etc., etc. That has extraordinarily powerful results. So my simple request to all of you is just be courageous and try. It is not that I knew any of it before. I just went trying. That's about all. And each time I tried with somebody, I learned. Like today is a tremendous learning experience. It's not a teaching experience. It's not a preaching experience. It's a learning experience for me. You look at it from that perspective, you would find a great difference happening to you. Sorry, you had your hands up now. You had a question?
Yes, we have one question in the chat. They ask, when Edie identified the challenge in her throat, where you asked the question about the size, color, or is it moving or not, it was tailored to that area, or would they be similar? Would those questions be similar regardless of the area in which the challenge presented?
Yeah, great question. Yes, it would be very similar. And that is why I used David Grove's clean language. Just ask these kind of open-ended questions. Doesn't matter whether it's in your heart, your stomach, or those kind of areas. Just ask them to describe it. You know, in deeper science, if you want to look at it, it is called the observer effect. Those of you who are somewhat familiar with quantum science, you would know that in a cyclotron energy, atomic smasher, as they call it, if you look at the way that the subatomic particles move, it'll be different from somebody else looks at it. It's been proven phenomenon. That's what happens when you start witnessing and observing it. It's deeply described, detailed in the Vedic Upanishads. It's called Mandukya Upanishad. It talks about 4 states of awareness. And the last state, which is a witnessing consciousness, which is really about the state of coach ought to be. It's about just observe. Ask the other person to observe. And that observation makes a difference. It's almost as if Edie is looking at that sensation and say, I care for you. And that's why I asked her to ask that question. You're part of me. And some of you may be familiar with, there's a very famous one called co-transformation. Connie Ray Andreas and her daughter. It's a phenomenally powerful technique in NLP. Many coaches sort of look down upon it saying it's NLP, it is therapy. It is not. It's very, very powerful coaching technique. There she asked the same question. She would ask, okay, what's happening? You're having this sensation. Why are you feeling that way? What is it that is causing that? You must be there for a benefit. And in what way am I benefiting from you having that kind of a feeling in my throat or something like that? So multiple ways of doing it. So when I have something which in Edie's case, it resolved very fast, but it had been deeper, I would go into those kind of things. So those are things that you learn over a period of time. And also each one of them And for me, it tied up very quickly. The throat is about expression. Very often the throat is about some way I had some problems about communication. The heart is about relationship. I have some problem with invalidation. The stomach is about a generic stress. I'm having some issues which are anxiety producing, etc. And deeper down, and I'm just leaving this to with you as a thought. The model of what's the lady's name now? Grief model. Help me. The 5-stage model of denial, anger, blah blah blah.
Kubler-Ross.
Sorry?
Is it Kubler-Ross?
Kubler-Ross. The Kubler-Ross model, the denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. It doesn't work if the grief is caused by guilt. I can prove it to you. If it is generic grief, I've lost something, whatever, I've lost a loved one, old age, this, that, whatever it is, fine. That model works. And this technique will speed it up. But if it is caused by guilt, I'll give you a simple example. The first time I experienced it was this lady who attended a webinar with me, a live program with me in Taipei. Everything was done through interpreters. And this lady, first day, it was a 2-day program. The evening of the program, I started a kind of a mixed meeting. And she came in a black dress, funeral dress, and basically said, look, I lost my husband. We are Buddhists. We were traveling to India, and he contracted some whatever disease, illness, and he died. And I feel responsible, and I'm really deeply depressed. And she's been like that for 6 months, and the other person who brought her confirmed that. So next day, we started work on it. After a while, I forgot. But then the part of that exercise was to deal with guilt, grief and guilt. And grief and guilt from a chakra energization principle resides in your lower abdomen. That's a principle. And to work at it, you talk about things like that. I take them through a meditation, very powerful meditation, and work on them, trying to explain also, in a sense, cognitively, that it's not your responsibility. You didn't cause it. It happened. You have to let go. So the next morning, and I remembered that this lady said something. So I asked the interpreter, I said, where is that lady? I can't see her. She said, I also can't see her. Afterwards, she came back to me and said, there she is. The whole of the first day, she was in black, and she was really she wasn't talking to anybody, very, very grim and depressed. Today, she was in a summer frock, and she was floating along, and then she was laughing, and I couldn't even recognize her. So I said, look, I'd like to understand what happened. She said, I went through that meditation. Suddenly I found it went. I didn't realize I had nothing to do with it. The guy had to die. He died. So what? I said, fantastic. Now go celebrate. If you drink, go and have a stiff drink. And I followed up with her after a month through the interpreter. I'm completely free now. What happens is, guilt weighs you down. It doesn't let you go. That bargaining and all that doesn't help. It stays there like a stone. And when I do the somatic process, I've done it with a number of people, not one, a dozen. People who have experienced the pangs of guilt, emotional trauma for a dozen years. They've been to therapists regularly. And I work with them 1 hour, and I can literally guarantee that I can help them. Immediately, they may have, initially, the feeling is really, it doesn't start with the throat as it happened with Edie. It starts with the heart because it is to do with relationships, especially if it's a loved one. And then very quickly, I clear the heart, or they clear the heart by looking at the heart and doing a few things, going to anchoring. And if I ask them, look again, they will say, hey, there's something coming in my lower stomach, near my abdomen. And it's, what is it like? It's like a rock. It's like stone. It's heavy. It's difficult. It's painful. It's ragged, and all kinds of stuff. Then I take them through the same exercise. Believe you me, and it's very difficult to believe, I know, that within a few minutes, they will say, it's melting, something is happening. And suddenly, oh, there are green sprouts coming from there. It's amazing is not the word for it. First time I experienced it, I couldn't really believe myself. So that process works. So once you get a little bit more experience, I deliberately tell people, don't diagnose. It's a wrong thing to do, because ultimately, those of you who are familiar with healing, you will know that healing, you have to let go of your ego. You are not doing the healing. You are just a medium. You are helping. You are transferring the healing energy of the universe. That true spirit has to reside within you. And so within that space, if I watch them, I'm so thrilled that this is happening to them. And that's a space in which you thrive as a coach as well. And so it's not about diagnosis. Everybody, I mean, cognitive coaches, they want to know, you tell me, if this feeling, where does it reside? Sure, I can tell you, but if you start doing it, you're going to lose it. It's not going to work for you, because it's not about your knowing where it is and guiding that person, you go there. That person has to experience it and go there. And then you can sort of put things together and direct your questioning in some way that it can help them. So typically, as I said, if it is to do with emotions, if it's about a throat, forget it. It's just pure fantasizing anxiety. There was a famous guy, philosopher, who said 90% of your anxiety, or 99%, are fiction. 1%, which is real, will help you. So you've got to identify that 1% of the anxiety which is true, and which, if uncovered, will help you. The throat is about that kind of a cognitive, emotional expression. I'm unable to express. Something is happening. I'm overcome by fear, anxiety, whatever, invalidation. The heart is more about emotional invalidation. People don't like me, and I'm stuck there, and nobody loves me. Kind of, if you're familiar with NLP, the generalization, nobody loves me. The stomach is more about stress and so on and so forth. And then anxiety. And then lower down, it comes to a combination of really toxic, in Freudian, Jungian iceberg model, at the lowest levels, shame, guilt, regret, grief. Grief by itself is not a negative emotion. It's a good way of getting out what you have, catharsis, but the others affect you. So you can drill down on those, and you use a somatic kind of inquiry like I did now, exploration. You'll find people help themselves. It's a healing process. That is why, to me, coaching is meditation and healing. It's not, most of this work I do pro bono, simply because it's not something that I can monetarily benefit from. Fortunately, I don't have to, but that's a different matter. But the point is, it's a kind of a gift. And you try to pass it on to as many people as you can. And if they can learn it and they can use it, so many more people can benefit. That's really what you're here for. What's your purpose? Okay, yeah. So, sorry, I'm going to too many other fields. Yeah, any other questions specifically on this process?
Well, let me just look. Some people posted something. Okay, so we only have 2 minutes, and if you were willing to stay on a few more minutes, I know if anybody has any other
I'm
questions.
fine. Don't worry about
Okay.
me. If
Okay.
anybody has any questions, I'll certainly stay.
Thank you. But before we do that, then just so that whoever needs to go can go, I would love to have a few of you share what value you got today, like what are some of your takeaways, something that you want to do moving forward, whatever it might be, if you could share that with Ram so that we can share our appreciation for his contribution to our community today. Let's just have a couple of you share. Don't be shy.
I really appreciate you being here and sharing your gifts with us and letting us see you do that work. It's deeply inspiring to see, and I would love to practice this in my own practice as I continue to try to grow towards a healer's path.
Sure. And if you guys need any help, any guidance, please feel free to reach out to me, ram@kocharya.com. That's all.
It was very illuminating and very, wow. So for me, what I'm taking away is what you said, you know, that first level of self-coaching, self-awareness, being selfish, is practicing a little bit more of that. Because that's the access really for us to support other human beings when we've done the work first. So for me, that's what I want to practice moving forward. Thank you so much.
Ram, can you put in your email address just so that they have the correct one in case? I
Yep.
think Wendy put in the correct one, but still, yeah, if you could do that, some people are asking.
The spelling, the earlier one was slightly different, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Coach Arya, it's actually a play on words. Acharya in Sanskrit means the same as a coach, one who walks by your side. Coach Acharya, we just created that word, Coach Arya. So,
Beautiful.
and then we have a logo which is about a circle sitting on infinity, which is like a yogi meditating. And that in the Buddhist terminology means actually when your mind is zero, you're mindless, you're zero mind, no mind, then your energy is infinite. And both are true, absolute truisms. So, yeah. Anyway,
Beautiful.
that's one more aspect of.
Beautiful, yeah. I know we can keep Ram here forever. He's filled with wisdom. But yeah, whoever needs to go, please feel free. And thank you so much for joining us. And we hope to see you at our upcoming events. You all know hopefully you all know what our website is, icforangecounty.org, and go to our events page. We have a whole bunch of events in May already. 1, 2, 3, 4 events in addition to Rams. So 4 more. So please join us. Okay.
I just want to say thank you so much, Ram. This felt very encouraging and validating. The program I graduated from was Coaching for Transformation India. So we actually got a lot of the somatics, a lot of the parts work that I've been doing with peers. I just recently got my ICF credential in March. And I know this is the type of coaching that really brings value to my clients. I watch them cry in every session and they come out so much lighter. So I can attest it really works. And I feel validated because I'm a childhood sexual assault survivor. I grew up with domestic violence. I've always been called to be a helper. So my career was in the nonprofit world. And I followed my heart, left nonprofit to start a coaching practice to do work that just felt more powerful, that wasn't under so many systemic structures. And it's just so beautiful. My whole life has opened up and I feel really aligned with you and the work you're doing. And I just want to say thank you so much.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I completely empathize. I've been fortunate in not having had to experience what you experience, but I have worked with people. And anytime you need any help, any further work that you would like to do, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to help. Thank you.
Ram, I have two questions.
Yep.
One is, you said this is more for like emotional trauma. What about like actual physical ailments? Does it work in that realm as well?
It does in a different way. See, that's why manifestation and visualization, once you, the same kind of guided work that I took you through, and you practice it on a regular basis. And James Doty talks about something very similar in his Mind Magic or Magic Mind, whatever that book is. So and it's actually in the Bible as well. When you sincerely visualize something which not only does good to you, but also good to other people, and you visualize it in a way that you see it as reality manifesting within yourself, and then you just throw it out to the universe. And there's a beautiful book, The Alchemist says, the universe conspires to help you. And it does that is exactly what happens. So now the point is whether everybody gets cured, that is, I don't know. It may not happen. I used to practice very regularly Reiki healing. I'm a master Reiki practitioner. Initially, when I was still novice, there were a few cases where I was working with people who were seriously ill and they died. So I was really shaken because the whole idea of healing was that you're supposed to cure a person. Then someone who was much wiser than me, this was almost 30, 40 years ago, he took me aside and said, you helped them because they had to go. And there were other things which were blocking them, and maybe people around them, something else or whatever it is, and you helped with the healing that has to happen. So it doesn't mean that you have an ailment and the only way out is for that person to become physically fitter and become active again in life. It may not appeal very much to the Western mind, but to the Eastern mind, it need not be reincarnation, but you come from a source of, I don't believe in God per se, but there's a source of energy, and you go back to that source of energy. And so you're going to a better place, irrespective. So today, for instance, as far as I'm concerned, if at this moment as I'm speaking to you, I go, I'll be very happy because I fulfilled what I needed to do. So every day that you work from that principle. So coming back to the point that you're making, yes, it is possible. So I worked with people with pain. I worked with myself on pain. So focusing on the pain area, just watching it, observing it, observing it, observing it. After a while, you will get over that pain. Or pain may still be there, but the suffering won't be there. Let me put it that way. So in physically, it's a very, very subtle difference, but a very powerful difference.
It's a huge difference because I always say I can be with pain. I can't be with the suffering.
Yeah.
For me, at least.
So you get rid of the suffering by just witnessing it. The observer effect takes away that aspect of it. But there have been recorded instances where people have sort of imagined if they had cancer, white cells, they eat up the bad cells. For some, it works. For some, it doesn't work. Because these are, unlike Newtonian science, this is Einsteinian science, which is basically the fundamental principle is uncertainty. It's probability. It is not mixing whatever two elements and immediately this is what the result That is, an acid and alkali together produce a salt. No, it doesn't work that way. We are living beings. So it's very, very different. So once you understand the principle, you also then come to that next stage where there is an acceptance and genuine acceptance in terms of saying, hey, you can look at it this way, whatever happens is good. There may be something that is good that is coming out of it. I believe what I'm doing is good, and so fine. Because that's really the only way to work on it. Think of it this way, simple thing, locus of control. What is the locus of control? You can't even control your own breath. You have no guarantee that you're going to breathe the next breath. You can die. But you don't live with that fear, right?
Yeah.
The same way, there's a limited locus of control. And I call it, you look at the internal within yourself. Then if you're looking outside it, then you are looking at the intra, then the inter, which you are reacting with other people. And then the larger one, which is extra, which is far beyond you, which you have absolutely no control. The only control that you have is in the intra. You can control what you're experiencing to some extent. And if you're more aware, you can to a large extent. The inter, another person, even however your own child, your own spouse, your own father, mother, the only very limited way that you can control. Beyond that, you can't control anything at all. But yet we believe that we can control everything, right? That is what leads to this dystopia. So, yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
tricky, but more and more this is supported by science.
Okay. My other question kind of continues off of what Nancy was asking, but a little bit more specific. Because there's so much leading, so to speak, in the work that you did with ED, in the beginning at least, how does that still fall in the realm of coaching, let's say? And particularly from the ICF model or from the ICF perspective, I want to be like, obviously you would never do this in an actual coaching call where you're going to submit to ICF for credentialing. But how does it?
No, I'm not so sure, Nanor. Look,
Yeah, tell
exactly
me about that.
what did you exactly find leading? Tell me.
The beginning where, you had her close her eyes, breathe in certain ways, the box breathing, the visualization.
ICF allows this because you ask permission whether the person would want to go through it. So it's a process. ICF completely allows this. There's a misinterpretation of ICF regulations. What leading is, I'm planting somebody in someone's mind something which then is not a product of their own. But this is a process, like if you ask them, for any question is a leading question, right? The moment you seek an answer from somebody, it becomes leading. If I ask you, okay, can you visualize a metaphor? Can you think of a metaphor? It's a leading question. So here, it's a meditative, reflective process in terms of anchoring. This is not against ICF principles at all. That is not the meaning of leading in ICF. Leading is if, let's say, a simple example, I come across this very often. Somebody is using a word like, I have irritation. Then the coach interprets that as anger, and a couple of times uses that word as anger. It has a completely different connotation. And then the client starts using that word anger. So in of irritation, the client starts feeling anger towards somebody. That's leading. You're planting that idea in their head.
Right.
And the second is if you are doing a process, like if it's a visualization process, I'd ask somebody to close their eyes. Can you visualize? If it's okay with you, yeah. If I personally, and I have talked to many MCCs, they don't consider it healing. In many leading, many people use this kind of a technique. So I haven't specifically gone to Gary Abner or somebody and said, "Is this leading?" I haven't asked. But if it is a part of a larger process you are trying to do, then you could say, I mean, I remember in the MCC assessor group, there was a question. Somebody asked, if you were to ask someone, what is the outcome that you want? Isn't that leading? Then your coaching cannot start.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
honestly,
Yeah, I mean, if you
yeah.
get to the, yes, to the root, I agree, I guess. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But
So,
I,
where is
so
that
you
spectrum?
ask permission.
Where is the spectrum? The spectrum is telling to inquiring. Here,
Mm,
that telling is not telling in that sense you have to behave this way, but you are helping somebody with a process or a technique, which then helps them to inquire, explore in themselves. And it's the same thing. There's a huge misunderstanding in the word. Earlier, ICF had something which they have changed, fortunately, now. A client, I mean, a coach can share what they feel
mm,
so long as it is authentic and so long it's not judgmental. Very often it helps the client. In supervision, if you are familiar with the 7-eyed model, the 6th eye is about sharing. The coach, the supervisor shares. And today that is part of coaching. EMCC approves it already as coaching. ICF will shortly do that. So these are kind of related. So somebody could say, oh, you're sharing, you're leading that person. But if the sharing is done in such a way that I'm responding to what your experiences are, by telling you with deep authenticity and congruence as to what I'm experiencing and empathy with unconditional positive regard, is that coaching? To my answer is yes, it is. I mean, these are some of the nuances of coaching which need to be sort of refined. But it's a very
yeah.
valuable question. And yeah, I don't know. I've never bothered to go and ask people in ICF, would I do it? But I come across number of, not number, I would say quite a few very powerful processes similar to what I led ED through. And I have rated them at MCC. They've got their MCC. And I mean, ICF goes with a standard deviation principle, and they rate me in the middle of that. So I have never had a problem with somebody pointing out saying that, look, this is unacceptable. Somebody has the other ICF, as you probably know, there are 2 other assessors also who assess the same recording, and they probably assess the same way. So I've never had a issue in terms of doing it. But
Okay.
if for some reason, if some coaching competency model says it's not, then I would rather be not part of the coaching competency. It's as simple as that. At the end of the day, what are you there for coaching? You're not here to earn
Yeah,
money.
I hear you. Yeah,
To help another person without having to
that's
impose.
right.
Would be great if we had more examples of MCC level coaches teaching this, because I do feel like it's not congruent all across, even between MCCs. I saw an article, LinkedIn article recently by an MCC, and it says, I can't stand it when the first thing the coach says on the call, let's take a deep breath, because that's inviting them into something, like a leading the conversation from the get-go. And I'm like, it's just a deep breath. It's not that big of a deal for me, in my opinionated mind.
I mean, these are the people, I mean, they are so much rooted in the cognitive essence. And tomorrow you don't need them. AI will replace them.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I mean, once that happens, they will realize that what they're doing is not adequate. Yeah, which is why I call it the future of coaching. Yeah. But thanks for asking this question. I mean, no, I completely accept that, because these are some of the things I would like to expand and explore. I mean, ultimately, I mean, very simply this, that you got to be mind free in that sense, that you don't have, you have to let go your ego. It cannot be judgmental. That's a measure by which you have to measure coaching. Is a coach coming with an agenda? And this is what I need to convince the client with. And that is leading. But as long as it is very generic, like the process then it's purely observation. I don't even know what she has. So what is it that I can lead, right? The individual is going through it and they are resolving it themselves. So I don't think ICF any has problem with it, but the point is that ICF encourages, in fact, whoever the research head is, had listed once various subjects, and he had put in ontological and somatic and all these as part of the research fields. And this is very, very clearly fitting into the somatic experience history awareness model.
Yeah. Incredible. Well, I'm glad to hear that. And I'm definitely interested to learn more. There's no doubt. So we'll go to
Sure.
Coach
Yes,
Arya and check it
quite
out.
happy to, yeah, I'll be quite happy to come again and explain this to another group. But absolutely, the whole purpose of, I think, my existence is also to help more people learn these. These are not something that I dreamt up, I discovered like Einstein one day or whatever it is. These are ancient truths which are available, just putting them together. That's about all.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're making it accessible to
That's all. I'm a
us.
communicator.
Yeah. Thank
That's all.
you. Thank you. Anyone else have anything else? Yeah, Lori.
I just wanted to say it was truly helpful for me because I'm dealing with a situation like that now where I'm coaching, and if you ask the questions and you'll get like the person who's high on their saboteur, you know, they're so high that they're going to have one answer, but or then when you go into the deeper saboteur where it's causing problems, that's where they'll take that action, or if they're in fight or flight, freeze or fawn, they'll take that action. So I've been sort of wanting to use these type of skills, or this is how I've been dealing well with my clients, but it wasn't fitting in well with the ICF or their concept of the ICF model. But I love what you said about it's, if they do it at that level, they're giving, it's like you said second level of corruption. Does that, yeah, so that to me is like they're wanting to help, and they're not wanting to go into these skills because they want to help and not go in. They're thinking these skills are the ones that are hurting, but it's really asking the question or staying at that really simple question, cognitive level, that it may be causing the corruption. So for me, that was like totally worth the session, and I got a lot out of it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, another way of, the question that you asked, for example, I mean, the easy way to avoid it is, I would consider this a prerequisite for any coaching. So I would ask that person, would you be interested in going through the exercise so that it anchors you, so that you come with this thing. So you don't introduce it as part of that, this thing, and then go into the ICF process if that were to be done. But I don't think personally ICF has any objections to this.
Right.
And none of what ICF says at the MCC bars level and all that, there's nothing objectionable to this.
That's great to know.
Guys,
Thank
if there
you.
is anything more that you would like to know, just feel free to write to me. Certainly, if there is something deeper, contact me. I'll try and be of as much help as I can. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
you.
I truly appreciate the time that you guys spent for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram. Have a good night.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank
Take
you
care.
so
Bye-bye.
much.
Yeah,
Have a
no,
good
for
night.
coordinating and bringing so much wisdom in the space. This
Oh,
was a great session. Thank you both so much.
yeah.
Take care. Bye-bye.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.